Here's a scary thought to think about tonight. The FBI guesses that at any time, there are between 25 and 50 serial killers out there in the United States. It's true that the worst time for serial murder, the scary decades of the 1970 and 80, is over. The number of these crimes has dropped a lot, thanks to better police work and science. Most killers are eventually caught. Their faces and names become famous for the evil they did, and they are locked away forever or punished for their crimes. But what about the others? The ones who are never caught. Some of them, the smartest, the most careful, or maybe just the luckiest, simply disappear. They hunt, they kill, and then they blend back into normal life. Like ghosts living among us. They leave behind nothing but long-lasting fear and painful questions that never get answered. These are the killers who might still be walking around today, their story's not yet over. Tonight, we're looking at 6 of the scariest murderers who are still free. Some of the scariest monsters in history are the ones who don't have a name or a face. The most famous of these is the killer who basically set the example for all serial killers to come. Jack the Ripper. In the dark, foggy fall of 1888, a deep fear took hold of the poor Whitechapel area of London. In this confusing area of dark streets and extreme poverty, at least 5 women were cruelly killed and their bodies cut up. The killer was so cruel and the cuts were so precise that many people thought he was a doctor or a surgeon. He made the city's fear worse by sending letters to the police to make fun of them. He even signed one with the scary nickname Jack the Ripper, which gave a name to the unknown threat. But even with all the fear and the huge investigation, he was never caught. For more than 100 years, figuring out who he was has been one of the world's biggest and scariest unsolved mysteries. During the hardest years of the Great Depression in the 1930s, a new kind of fear spread through Cleveland, Ohio. A killer, known quietly as the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Run, started causing terror. At least 13 victims were officially linked to him, but the real number might be much higher. His method was especially horrible and meant to confuse everyone. He cut up his victims with the skill of a surgeon, often leaving only the main part of the body. This made it almost impossible to identify them. The famous lawman Eliot Ness, who was known for taking down the gangster Al Capone, was in charge of public safety in Cleveland and led the huge investigation himself. The killer seemed to enjoy the cat-and-mouse game and made fun of Ness directly. In one incredibly bold move, he left 2 victims in a place that Ness could see from his own office window. But even the famous and determined Eliot Ness couldn't solve this case. The Mad Butcher was never found, and he disappeared just as mysteriously as he had appeared. The Zodiac Killer brought fear to Northern California in the late 1960s, turning a time of peace and love into a time of fear. It's confirmed that he murdered 5 people, but in his own strange messages, he bragged about killing as many as 37. The Zodiac became so infamous because he made everyone pay attention to his crimes. He sent many letters and difficult secret codes to newspapers, telling them to put them on the front page, or he would kill again. He attacked young couples parked in quiet lovers' lanes and, in a shocking move, also killed a taxi driver in the middle of San Francisco. A police sketch of his face was shared everywhere, which gave a face to the fear, but not a name. Even though there was a huge investigation that lasted for years and looked at many suspects, who he really was remains one of the most famous and frustrating mysteries in American crime history. A more recent killer, known as the West Mesa Bone Collector, has brought fear to the American Southwest. The horror started in 2009, when a woman walking her dog on the edge of Albuquerque, New Mexico, found a human bone sticking out of the dry ground. That one bone led police to a burial site where many people were buried, hidden right out in the open. From the desert ground, they dug up the bodies of 11 women and 1 unborn baby. The investigation showed that they had all disappeared between 2001 and 2005. A sad pattern appeared. Most victims were young, Hispanic, and involved in drugs or sex work. Because they were in a risky situation, their disappearances were often not reported or not investigated properly. This allowed a killer to keep going for years without being stopped. Police have looked closely at several suspects, but the case is still unsolved. A $100,000 reward for information is still being offered. It's a quiet hope for a clue that could finally tell us who this modern monster is. What about a case that seems to be solved, but might not be? For years, the Long Island serial killer was a scary mystery on the East Coast. The case started when human bodies were found along an empty stretch of highway in New York. In the end, at least 11 dead people were discovered. The case seemed to be solved in 2023 when a man named Rex Hoyerman was arrested. He has been charged with being involved in 7 of the murders, which has brought some sense of peace to some of the victims' families. But even with this big arrest, a scary question is still being asked. Some police and crime experts have thought for a long time that one person might not have killed all of them. They point to different ways the crimes were committed. The scary question is this: was it all done by one man, or could another different killer have used the same place to dump bodies, staying free and unknown while another suspect got all the attention? It's one thing when a killer is an unknown person who is never found. It's completely different when they are caught, found guilty, and then are just allowed to walk away. Think about the shocking and angering case of Lester Eubanks. In 1965, he cruelly murdered one 4-year-old Mary Ellen Diener in Ohio. He was caught and found guilty, and was sentenced to death. But his sentence was later changed to life in prison. Then, something happened that is hard to believe. In December 1973, as a reward for what was called good behavior, Eubanks was taken on a Christmas shopping trip with a guard. During the trip, for some reason, he was allowed to shop by himself and he just walked away. Police have never seen him again. For over 50 years, Eubanks has been on the run. He is a convicted killer living a free life because of a huge failure of the justice system. He is still on the U.S. Marshals 15 Most Wanted list, which reminds us that justice was not served. There is a $50,000 reward for his capture. The hunt for these killers never stops, even many years after their crimes. What do you think is the most important thing for solving these impossible old cases? Is it new DNA technology, a key witness who finally speaks up, or just pure luck? Tell us what you think in the comments. And if you find these scary mysteries as interesting as we do, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications for more videos about unsolved cases.